is going to be putting some tariffs on Hollywood. And a whole bunch of people just started going off on the deep end, talking about, well, my goodness, the foreign films are going to be tariffed. Tariffed, I say. Well, hold your horses and everything like that. So we need to go ahead and see what the Chibi Reviews what he has to say about how this is going to impact anime. And let me see if I agree or disagree. But before I get into the content, do make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that good stuff will help me out right here. But let's go ahead and first read what the president, 47th president of the United States, the MAGA king, the new pope of the Catholic religion, Donald John Trump, had to say on this. The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the United States. Hollywood and many other areas within the USA are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. I don't know about that, but hey, it is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda, which, by the way, I disagree with the president right here. Hollywood going overseas to make movies is not messaging and propaganda, especially when most of the messaging and propaganda in these movies come from Hollywood themselves. They do that shit here in the States, but I digress. Let's finish what he has to say. Therefore, I am authorizing the Department of Commerce and the United States Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. Now, a lot of people are jumping the gun. It just begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff. It does not say that it will be implemented. People got to learn how to read and not be emotional on this or anything like that. But let's go ahead and see what Chibi Reviews has to say and to see what he had about how this might impact anime.
Everybody is freaking out about this. People have been saying, Chibi, did you hear anime is going to die? Did you hear Crunchyroll is going to collapse? Did you hear that Netflix is going to raise subscription prices? Crunchyroll is going to raise subscription prices? Did you hear about, like, how we're no longer going to be able to watch anime films or anime in the United States legally? You know, all these different type of stuff. I have heard it all today. Everybody's freaking out. So let's dive headfirst into this. Let's get into the bottom of this and why everybody's freaking out. What does this necessarily mean? And how do I personally feel about it? Let's get into it. So, to start off, let's look at this post first. Trump's plan to impose tariffs on all foreign films could impact the United States release of future anime films such as Demon Slayer, Studio Ghibli, and many more. And if these tariffs stay in place, it also would theoretically affect Chainsaw Man's Rize movie that is scheduled to come out later this year. But to get into the main point of where this all started, basically, Donald Trump made a post earlier this morning or late last night, pretty much saying the movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering also...
Let's go ahead and fast forward. We already read that. We already read that and everything. So we're just going to go ahead and fast forward just a little bit. Let's go ahead and pick it up right here.
I don't want to get too deep into politics, but anyone that has kept their eye on politics knows Trump is pretty big on tariffs as of late. And, you know, most of my demographic that watches me is housed in the United States, and another portion is housed in Europe. And I feel like this is a very relevant conversation, because obviously these tariffs here that is going to be put on foreign movies is definitely going to affect people that are my demographic, people that watch me, because basically it means that it might be harder to get actual anime. It might be harder to watch anime. At least that's what it appears to be. So let's give examples here, what this actually is going to do. So this tariff, I'm not going to act like I know every little thing that Trump is planning to do with this, because obviously this is very vague. It's very, very vague wording. There's a lot of articles that have been made about this, like, for instance, the New York Times says Trump says he will put 100% tariff on movies made outside the United States.
And see, this shows the dishonesty of the media. Trump did not say he will put a 100% tariff on movies made outside the United States. He said he will begin the process. So that means that they're working to come up with a plan that could potentially put a 100% tariff on movies made outside the United States. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be put in place. And in fact, they came out later with at least the Trump administration to basically calm everybody down and say, hey, you know what? We just said we're going to begin the process. We didn't say that we're actually going to be getting ready to do this immediately. And see, declaring foreign film production a national security threat, the president said he had asked his top trade official to start the process of imposing a tax on Hollywood. That isn't what he said. Remember, to go back to, well, this is that 2-minute 45-second mark. Let's go back over here, right here, to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies. Process. Begin the process. That's a key word right there. And so it's not imposing a tax on Hollywood or anything like that. So we don't even know exactly when this is actually going to be going into effect. But let's go ahead and finish letting Chibi go ahead and talk and see what he has to say.
For instance, the New York Times says Trump says he will put 100% tariff on movies made outside the United States. There's another one from BBC. Trump considers 100% tariffs on movies not made in the United States. And
so that headline from BBC was actually a little more honest. That headline from BBC was a little more honest. Considering that's actually a lot more honest than what the New York Times had their headline made. He's considering it. He hasn't actually implemented it. So let's just keep that in mind.
Trump considers 100% tariffs on movies not made in the United States. And then if you do a quick little Google search, you'll just see dozens upon dozens, Reddit posts, all sorts of stuff of people talking about the situation. And more or less, there's a lot of theory crafting, there's a lot of fear mongering, there's a lot of doom posting, and it more or less, people are just like thinking, what does this mean? And people have gone out of their way to basically say that, Trump's tariffs is going to destroy movies. I've seen people basically just straight up say that the Demon Slayer movie is going to be hard to find or watch in America. It's going to cost like an arm and a leg just to be able to watch it. I've seen people straight up say that 2D animation in the industry is just going to be destroyed overnight because of this.
Now, this conversation, the comment from this Adam Dietz right here, this is absurd. And this is part of the fault of the media, our media, where they're not properly educating people to sit there and have them and discuss policy rationally. If it's a broad policy, it would single-handedly decimate the 2D animation industry overnight. No, it would not. It would not do that. There wouldn't be any type of destruction of this kind of stuff. And then on top of that, there is good animation that is being done here in the States. It is starting to come back a little bit in the States here and everything. So it would not destroy 2D animation overnight. This is the absurdity that we have to deal with, because our media will not sit there and report factually and rationally so that people can come to rational decision. Everybody gets hyper emotional about tariffs. Oh, tariffs are going to just make everything so much more expensive. Tariffs are just going to drive prices through the roof. Tariffs are going to do this. Tariffs are going to do that. What these people don't understand is that we have been having tariffs on our goods since the beginning of this nation. If our media came out and said that, I'm like, oh, is that so? A lot of the tariffs, and I don't want to get too political or anything like that, but a lot of the tariffs that Trump put in place in this first administration, the Biden administration kept in place. That's something they don't tell you. In which the Trump administration kept a lot of tariffs that were put in place by the Obama administration. This is not big news, but it's treated like big news because they have nothing else to talk to this man on. But I digress. Let's go ahead and let Chibi Reviews keep on cooking.
Situation, there's a lot of people really just freaking out about the situation. So the tariff in general, from what my understanding of this is, from what I can dig up from multiple articles and people that definitely know a lot more than I do, Apparently, what this tariff is going to do is cause movies that are, let's say, filmed in other countries, like if it is, let's say, Lord of the Rings. This is my understanding. If I am wrong, correct me in the comments below, okay? Please do so. I'm not acting like I know every little thing about tariffs and the intricacies of what Trump was doing with that post. But basically, from my understanding, like, for instance, if a movie like Lord of the Rings was filmed in another country, which it was, and it was produced today and came out exactly like it was, my assumption would be that it would be tariffed, because the actual movies and the way they use tax breaks to film in other different countries or different areas around the world, basically is what the tariff would affect. For instance, foreign movies. That's my assumption. Just because it officially releases in America or it was produced by an American company doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to affect them. If it is filmed outside the United States, I think that's probably what potentially classifies as a foreign film. Now, I could be wrong. Now, if I am wrong on this, and it means that anything that is, let's say, just completely filmed out the United States and released outside the United States by, let's say, a different foreign country or a foreign company, then I think that in general that makes a lot of sense. That's easier to understand. So the waters are pretty muddy right now. It's very muddied waters because I've seen both sides of this. People basically saying that if movies are filmed outside the United States but then brought into the United States by an American company, then it's going to be tariffed or it's not going to be tariffed. So like I said, there is a lot of confusion here. However,
and just let me stop right there on Chibi, because I think he's being pretty fair in his assessment on that. My view of this is this. Let's say, for instance, Warner Brothers wants to go ahead and create a movie. Instead of using American studios and filming that here in America, they decide that they want to go to the UK and film the movie over there. I think that what Trump is going to be doing on that is that if you go and if you're an American company and you decide that instead of you filming that movie here in the States, you go to the UK and film it over there, we're going to attach a tariff on that. That might, the UK offers great incentives to film over there in the UK, and they offer great tax credits. So maybe what the United States will do is say, hey, you know what? We're going to offset those tax credits you get from the UK, and we're going to put a tariff on that to make sure that, hey, you know what? Yeah, you filmed over there in the UK, but you're not going to get any benefit. Whereas if you just keep that movie in-house over here, you get to enjoy all the tax incentives and any other tax breaks that you get to make that movie over here in the United States. I don't think that this is going to be a tariff on foreign films that actually originate in a foreign country and then gets brought over here into the United States. I don't think that's the way it's going to work or anything like that. Hey, I may be wrong, but I think this is more so a tariff that's going to be applied to American companies who seek to take their jobs overseas and film overseas and then try to re-import that back into the United States at a discounted price. That's the way I see it. But the thing is, though, we need to sit here and wait to let the process play out. We need to let the U.S. Trade Representative work. But again, that is the fault of our media. They need you to be excited and upset and angry 24/7 when you don't need to be. You don't need to be angry at this. It's not going to impact you right now, and it may not even impact you in the future or anything like that. We gotta wait until all the information comes in. Let me go ahead and let Chibi go ahead and talk a little bit more, because I don't want this to go on too long.
There is one big thing that does need to be said. Regardless of however this is classified, we know for a fact that anime films in general are 100%, they are foreign. They are foreign films. We know this. So that's a no-brainer. So, with that being put onto the table, what is this going to do to anime? We're finally circling back around to that topic. Well, this obviously would raise prices. That's what tariffs do, because obviously tariffs in general are supposed to tax or kind of make prices of foreign goods a lot more expensive, but also, make it more lucrative to produce things in the home country, aka the United States, and make it to where American companies focus and use their resources in the United States instead of relying on foreign entities. That's more or less my understanding of the whole situation. Make basically self-reliant. That's the whole point of it. And so, obviously, with that incentive, it will cause growing pains. It will cause prices to go up because a lot of these companies heavily rely on on foreign aid or foreign help and stuff from different countries to give goods, maybe shampoo, coffee, whatever. You get the point. So the point is that yes, prices will go up until these companies become self-reliant, so to speak, at least within the home country. Once again, my understanding of the situation. So if theoretically these tariffs go through and these films are, let's say, brought up with, 100% tariffs, it means that they're going to double in price. So what was once like a $20 movie will be a $40 movie. That is what.
And that's where he would be wrong at and everything. That doesn't necessarily mean that the prices would double. We don't know the impact of what the tariffs would be or anything like that. Now, he says that this is a 100% tariff. We don't know how that's going to be applied through the chain or anything like that. And then on top of that, as I mentioned before, we don't know if this is actually going to apply to foreign movies that are just filmed completely over in, that are completely are foreign made. Notice right here, it says, immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. Now, again, we don't know what that means until we actually see everything that gets put in place. Everybody's making the assumption that, well, if this movie is made over in Japan or if it's made over in Bangladesh or India or whatever, it's going to be tariffed. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this would be more of a situation where if American companies go to another country, film there, bring the movie back into the United States, that is what's going to be tariffed. Trump is trying to incentivize American film companies to stay in America and make their movies here in America. Now, the only thing I would probably sit there and say is if it requires the movie to be made on set, if like, for instance, you need to film this, you're wanting to make an adventure movie that follows Egyptian artifacts or something like that, and you want to film that on set in Egypt, we may not want that. We may not want that to be tariff. There will be things put in place to go in there and probably, hopefully go in there and provide incentives or tariff relief that will allow them to film on set. So we got to wait until all of it comes out to see how this works. When Donald Trump talks, I know he does a lot of bluster. He likes to be hyperbolic, like saying 100% tariff. That will it be a complete 100% tariff? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because he did mention in an NBC interview that he doesn't like to see a tariff as a tax, although it is. He doesn't like to see tariff as a tax. He likes to use it as an incentive to get people to change their behavior, to get companies to change their behavior, to get countries to change their behavior, which basically is what a tax does. A tax has you try to change your behavior. So we need to go in there and wait and see on how all of this will operate before we actually go in there and jump off the cliff and act like, oh my God, he's destroying the entire animation industry, which is nonsense. So I'm going to link Chibi Reviews entire video in the description if you guys want to go watch it over there. So I do recommend it. Chibi Reviews is a really good anime news source. So I definitely would recommend you go over there and check it out. Give the kids some love and everything. But you guys jump down in the comments and you let me know what you guys think about all this. Does Trump just make you go crazy? Does the MAGA king, the future Pope of the Catholic Church, the Darth Sith Lord, the God Emperor MAGA King himself, the 47th president, the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, does he make you go crazy regardless of what he do? Or are you MAGA like me? Truthfully, I enjoy all of this. I think we are in some really good, interesting times. But regardless of what you believe, jump down in the comments and let me know what you think. And make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. All that stuff really helps me out. And remember, this is Chris Bolt signing off, and I will catch you in the next video. You guys take it easy.